Most gracious God from Satan rejected. Today, inshallah, I will be reading from Surah 15, Al Hijr Valley, all the way until the beginning of Surah 16, the B. Just briefly before, inshallah, I go into Al Hijr Valley. Last English Quran study, we were finalizing the verses that we read, ending off with God creating the human race and creating the jinn race as well. God had told the angels to fall prostrate. All of them fell prostrate except Satan. Inshallah, someone can mute their mic just really quick. And then, God asked Satan, "Why are you not with the prostrators?" And this story, just before I go into Surah 15, just wanted to highlight that it leads into the beginning of Al Hijr Valley. Satan decided to disregard his creator's command and, disregard, sticking beside his brothers and sisters, the angels, obedience. He decided to even say in 36, "My Lord, respite me until the day they are resurrected." And God, being as merciful as he is, he still respited him until a specific day and time. As arrogant as it is for you to be disobedient and even ask your creator for a respite. Surah 15, verse 40. Except those among your worshippers who are devoted absolutely to you alone. He said, this is a law that is inviolable. And this law is the servants of God will be A-OK as long as they're servants of God. And
so, sorry, brother, we're reading from 1547, right? 1447, I mean. Guaranteed victory for God's messengers.
Let me see.
Right, where are you reading from?
1447. Oh, yeah. 1447, 2 pages. 1 second. 1447, 1 page.
239, 1539.
39.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Sister Huda didn't read 1447 to 39, no?
She did read 14. She did do 2 pages, yeah.
Okay, so where would I be?
1447. The book you're reading from is not the PDF, right? So the pages change when you change the size of the text. So we're not going off by those pages. So the pages, it's a different PDF. Oh,
So I just want to make sure February 13th, Huda read 1447 to 1539 or no?
Brother Suleiman, do you want me to stop the broadcast and then restart it again?
No, don't need to stop it. It's okay.
Okay.
So you're supposed to read from 15 verse 40.
Yes, that's what I was reading. Yep.
Okay. All right, never mind.
Okay.
15, not 14.
Yeah. So 1540 to 16:1.
Yeah.
Okay. So briefly, I'll just revisit what I was saying. Inshallah, Shaitan decided to disobey his creator's orders alongside. The angels decided to respect God's commandment. And God told the angels to all fall prostrate, and Satan decided to disregard his creator's order because of what the human being was created of, also because of Shaitan's ego, which leads us to an understanding of some similarities with Shaitan's constituents.
Brother, so hold on one second. I hate to interrupt, but you're still showing up Surah 14 on screen, right?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a good update.
Yeah.
All right, so.
And I mean, in English, we should just say Satan because people don't know who Shaitan is, right? So.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, guys, about the image. I was reading from the book Quran. So, Satan decided to disobey his creator, and because of his ego, it led him to where he is now. And ironically, he decided to ask God for a respite, even though being as arrogant as he stood. God, as being as merciful as he is, he said in 37, "You are respited until a specific day." In 39, he said, "My Lord, since you have willed that I go astray, I will surely entice them on earth. I will send them all astray." 1540, except those among your worshippers who are devoted absolutely to you alone. He said, this law is inviolable, meaning highlighting that this law that Shaitan can't break, or he can't get past, is being a submitted servant to God devotingly, absolutely, worshiping him completely alone, embracing him alone, upholding the commandments alone. He can't send you astray. And that's a beautiful thing to know in its completeness. And 42 says, "You have no power over my servants," God's servants. "You only have power over the strayers who follow you." And following Shaitan, there's a few bullet points that are there. Sinfulness, illicit earnings, usury, transgressions, lust, disobeying the commandments. There's a bucket full of things that you can continue to say. And in 43, and before I go to that, inshallah, God says, "You have no power over my servants." And likewise, there's a bucket list of negatives for Shaitan's constituents. There's a huge bucket list full of.
Yeah, brother, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you please say Satan? Like, we're reading Satan in the text, right? Because Shaitan is not it's not an English word, so it throws people off, right? People who are English speakers.
Can we just restart, inshallah?
Yeah, let's just restart.
Yeah, let's just restart.
Okay.
Yeah. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, let us all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. Inshallah, today I will be reading from 1540 to the beginning, Surah 16, the B. Briefly, I'd just like to speak on the information and actions that happen with Shaitan disobeying his creator's orders. God created the human race.
Yeah, brother, can we stop saying Shaitan? Like, I just told you like 3 times.
Well, so I have to tell you, it's something a work in progress. I say it all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know you reminded me, but
Okay. All right. Yeah, just please make an effort to try to say it correct. Thank you.
Yeah. So Satan, being created because he decided to, he refused to be with the prostrators. Just wanted to briefly speak on the disobedience in Satan, and then some of the positives with our Lord's angels. But I'll start on verse 40, inshallah. Except those among your worshippers who are devoted absolutely to you alone. He said, this is a law that is inviolable. Now, this law that is being discussed is the servants of God who worship Him devotingly, with no mistake. Well, we will have mistakes, but who worship Him devotingly throughout their time on earth. Shaitan will not be able to set them astray. 42, you have no power over my servants. You only have power over the strayers who follow you. And hell waits them all. It will have 7 gates. Each gate will get a specific share of them. So in 44, we're given some specific information on what's to happen in the hereafter. As for the righteous, they will enjoy gardens and springs. Enter therein peaceful and secure. So this just makes me think of, two sides: is who is worthy of God's blessings and gardens and springs, and who is not. Now, if you bear with me, inshallah, I'll be able to get through these verses quite concisely and clear. 46, enter therein peaceful and secure. We remove all jealousy from their hearts, like one family. They will be on adjacent furnishings. So God is telling us that those who succeed, they will have peace and security, and all jealousy will be removed from their hearts, like one family, like one congregation. They will be next to each other on furnishings. 48, never will they suffer any fatigue therein. Never will they be evicted therefrom. Inform my servants that I am the forgiver, most merciful, and that my retribution is the most painful retribution. Angels visit Abraham. Inform them about Abraham's guests. When they entered his quarters, they said, peace. He said, we are apprehensive about you. Maybe they were anxious, and maybe they had a sense of fear because of Abraham's guest. 53 says, they said, do not be apprehensive. We have good news for you, an enlightened son. He said, how can you give me such good news when I am so old? Do you still give me this good news? They said, the good news we give you is true. Do not despair. He said, none despairs of his Lord's mercy except the strayers. 57, he said, what is your mission, O messengers? They said, we are being dispatched to guilty people. As for Lot's family, we will save them all, but not his wife. She is destined to be with the doomed. Lot. 61, the messengers went to Lot's town. He said, you are unknown people. They said, we bring to you what they have been doubting. We bring to you the truth. We are truthful. You shall take your family during the night, stay behind them, and make sure that none of you looks back. Go straight as commanded. We delivered to him this command. Those people are to be annihilated in the morning. The people of the city came joyfully. He said, these are my guests. Do not embarrass me. Now, they had some commandments that they were supposed to follow. Inshallah, as I read further, we'll get to understand what happened in this situation with Lot. The commandment was to go straight ahead and, stay behind them and make sure that none of you looks back. 67, 68, he said, these are my guests. Do not embarrass me. 69, fear God and do not shame me. They said, did we not enjoin you from contacting anyone? He said, here are my daughters if you must. But at last they were totally blinded by their lust. Consequently, the disaster struck them in the morning. 74, we turned it upside down and showered them with devastating rocks. This is a lesson for those who possess intelligence. Oh, sorry, I wasn't. Let me see. Okay. Now, this story that happened with Lot, because they were blinded by their lust, they decided to disobey the command given to them by their Lord. And they didn't, stick to what was said to do. And because of such, they were devastated by the rocks. Now, this is a quite, upfront understanding that if you disobey your Lord, well, you get the just retribution. You get what you deserve, whether it be as harsh as this one is, or whether it be a pinch. But by God's grace, we're actually able to, take into account the story with Lot and the messengers that went to Lot's town, and just grasp that as long as you obey your Creator, or had you obeyed your Creator, it definitely would have went opposite of what happened. But for a fact, disobeying your Creator, you will get, whatever level of retribution God justifies, is deemable towards you. In 75, this is a lesson for those who possess intelligence. So this is a lesson that we can take with us, which is a blessing. 76, this will always be the system. And to my understanding, the system is you obey God, and you'll be okay. Or if you disobey God, well, then you have it just requital. 77, it also says this is a sign for the believers, which inshallah I like to discuss with brothers and sisters what they think the sign could very well be. Could it be one thing or multiple things that we could discuss? And 78, the people of the woods also were transgressors. Consequently, we avenged from them, and both communities are fully documented. The people of Al-Hijr disbelieved the messengers. We gave them our revelations, but they disregarded them. They used to carve secure homes out of the mountains. So they disbelieved the messenger, one, and two, they were given the revelations. But their answer was to disregard such blessings. In 83, it says the disaster hit them in the morning. And this was the people of the woods. And they were transgressors because of why? Because they disregarded the revelations and they disbelieved the messengers. Now, some brothers and sisters that are listening have not fully read the Quran, but there's so many spots in the Quran that show us what happens to you when you disbelieve your Creator. And even in 84, what they hoarded did not help them. Now, I'd like to read the footnote 15, 85 through 88 before I read Surah verse 85. One of the functions of God's messenger of the covenant is to deliver the Quranic assertion that the world will end in AD 2280. And then some of the supporting surahs and verses, I believe, 20, 15, 72, and 27 in Appendix 25 support this statement. Subtitle, End of the World Unveiled. We did not create the heavens and the earth and everything between them except for a specific purpose. The end of the world will come, so treat them with benign neglect. So treat them with kind or soft and soothe. Soft, I'd say, neglect, I believe. 86. Your Lord is the Creator, the Omniscient. We have given you the 7 pairs and the great Quran. Do not be jealous of what we bestowed upon the other messengers, and do not be saddened by the disbelievers, and lower your wing for the believers. Now, if I could take the time also to ponder on 85. except for a specific purpose, was the heavens and the earth and everything between them created. Now, there are many things, that we see that individuals in this worldly life, deem worthy of their full, undivided attention. Luxury vehicles, luxury homes, luxury properties, you know, luxury portfolios, not luxury portfolios, but high amounts of currency in their portfolios. Nonetheless, the things that these individuals deem worthy, or they deem it for their specific purpose, are nil compared to what the real purpose is. And I believe it is our duty to figure out that specific purpose. And with this Quran that God has blessed us with, it just gives us the key to unlock, how to be the best servant possible. Now, it's beautiful that by God's leave, the messenger of the covenant was able to unreveal the time the world will end, which I don't think any viewers here listening today will see that. Actually, I know that they won't see 2280. Well, unless you're very healthy. I don't know. But nonetheless, in your time here on earth, you're to find that specific purpose of why you're here. What's the blueprint of life? The questions that you should ask: why are you here? What should I be chasing? What should I not be chasing? There's a specific reason 85 is even in the Quran, because there's a specific purpose to being here in this worldly life. It says, the end of the world will come, so treat them with benign neglect. Your Lord is the creator, the omniscient. We have given you the 7 pairs in the great Quran, the great Quran. And do not be jealous of what we bestowed upon other messengers. And do not be saddened by the disbelievers. Oh, sorry, guys. I forgot. Yep. There you go. Sorry, everybody. And do not be saddened by the disbelievers, and lower your wing for the believers. So just recently, I'm still like a new submitter, and it's been a blessing to be around other brothers and sisters who just share so much information that they've learned around the journey, learned along the journey. And what you notice is your brothers and sisters in faith, they want to continue to exhort righteousness, grow their souls, pick up extra credit along the way. And 88 definitely highlights this, lowering your wing for the believers. I mean, to my, short but, knowledgeable understanding, we're to kill our ego. And, as before we even started the live, brothers and sisters were discussing just a situation where, you were just striving to exhort the message. And whoever such person was, they, by definition of their actions, was a hypocrite. But in that same, with that same information being disclosed, they were striving to lower their wing. Now, the potential was the individual could have become a submitter to God alone, which would have been a beautiful thing. I mean, it particularly looked like she was leaning into that favor. But God is doing everything. But what the blessing is for the submitter is lowering your wing for the believers and those who are not familiar with the message. And 89, and proclaim, I am the manifest warner. 90, we will deal with the dividers. They accept the Quran only partially. Now, I wasn't fully here for everything in the story, but it seems like the woman, accepted the Quran only partially. And I suppose it just, to end off what happened, she was a hypocrite in turn. And she just didn't want to follow whatever brothers and sisters were striving to just put out there. But it was all supported from the Quran alone. Now, in 90, before 91, it says, we will deal with the dividers. So anytime you're even striving to lower your wing, you shouldn't You shouldn't become, there's some, I don't know the words for it, but you shouldn't turn your back on your faith or beat yourself up because of an individual who just is not listening or even striving to listen, per se. But 92, it says, by your Lord, we will question them all, um, about everything they have done. So there's no, talking your way out of anything that you did in this worldly life. You happen to have a brother or a sister come to you and discuss the Quran with you, and you neglect the Quran. Well, on the day of judgment, that individual will be talked about or questioned, on specific things God deems worthy to be questioned on. But in 93, it says about everything they have done. Therefore, carry out the orders given to you and disregard the idol worshippers. Uphold the commandments, 5 pillars of Islam, La ilaha illallah, Ramadan, fasting the month of Ramadan, Hajj pilgrimage, charity, zakat, contact prayer, salat. Therefore, carry out the orders given to you, embrace submission, come with your brothers during Quran studies, don't turn your eye, meditate. There's so many orders given to you. And it's a blessing because this is the blueprint to being the best of the best creature as on earth. In my opinion, on earth, all these creatures, I mean, the animals don't have this sense of intelligence that we have. They're intelligent, the beautiful creations that God creates, but the human being has been blessed with the free will to make his or her judgment. And in 94, it says, carry out your orders given to you and disregard the idol worshippers. 95, we will spare you the mockers who set up another God beside God. They will surely find out, right? They will surely find out what God deems worthy for their retribution. We will spare you the mockers. So what reason do I have to give my energy to negativity? What reason do I have to continue to sit with the idol worshippers, sit with the disbelievers when they're not really your true brothers or sisters in faith? They worship whatever they deem worthy to worship. What reason do I have to, bring myself to or stoop myself to that level of ignorance, that level of disobedience? It's no reason to when, you have the blueprint of life. 98, you shall sing the praises of your Lord and be with the prostrators. Whether you're actually singing the praises of your Lord, alhamdulillah, like me and my father do, or whether you're meditating, whether you're, however you deem sing. You can definitely take it literal. Maybe you hum, however you deem it, but it's a blessing for you when you worship God alone and strive to pick up any extra credit that you can along the way, to continue to remind yourself that God is doing everything, just to continue to stay a step ahead of, stay more than a step ahead, stay 5-6 step ahead of your most ardent enemy. Because, the reminder benefits the believers. So I think 98 is definitely a good highlight, to stay a step ahead and be with the prostrators, be with those who submit and bow their heads and worship God devotedly. 99, and worship your Lord in order to attain certainty. Excuse me. Worship your Lord in order to attain certainty. So 99 just speaks on consistency. 99 speaks on your worship practices. 99 speaks on continuing to worship God devotingly. And with that said, Surah 16, the B, before I go to that, inshallah, I go to that. 1599, the footnote. The practices of worship are our means of attaining certainty. The practices of worship. You have all sorts of practices of worship. I don't think my mind is there right now to say all of them again, but alhamdulillah, all practices of worship that you can think of that are actual devotion to God alone, because you can't, it just won't get, you just can't, won't go if you idol worship. It just is nullified. So, and then inshallah, Surah 16, the B, which it should be popping up. Everything is already recorded. 5722, also see Appendix 14. Surah 16, the B. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. God's command has already been issued and everything has already been written. So do not rush it. Be he glorified, the Most High, far above any idols they set up. God's command has already been issued, and everything that has already been, written. So, inshallah, if I can take it back to earlier on when I asked you, all the viewers, to bear with me, and take it back to 45, inshallah, because I didn't get to speak on it as much information as I would have liked to. In 45, it says, as for the righteous, they will enjoy gardens and springs. Enter therein peaceful and secure. We remove all jealousy from their hearts. Like one family, they will be on adjacent furnishing. So next to each other, submitters to God alone, believers in God alone, the elite of the elite. What have you rank that's above that of an idol worshiper, a disbeliever, a hypocrite, a ridiculer, anyone above those ranks? As for the righteous, they will enjoy gardens and springs. It says, well, no, that's talking about how. So, as for the righteous, they will enjoy gardens and springs, right? So, what I wanted to pull from this is God promises the peace and security for those who worship him devotingly. Now, inshallah, if I go to 49, because I'm just skimming over what I didn't get to speak on, inshallah. Inform my servants that I am the forgiver, most merciful, and that my retribution is the most painful retribution. So provide the information to God's servants that God is the most merciful, the most forgiving, but also on the contrary, God's retribution is also the most painful, the most painful retribution. Remind God's servants. And then in 51, if I can just briefly skim over this one, because inform them about Abraham's guest. When they entered his quarters, they said peace. He said, we are apprehensive about you. We are anxious about you and or fearful about you. They said, do not be apprehensive. We have good news for you, an enlightened son. Ironically, it's like all the good news, all the messengers that come, they always just have some good news to just express. But they're either turned down, shot down, or, told to kick rocks. But in this story with Abraham, it says, we have good news for you, an enlightened son. Abraham, he said, how can you give me such good news when I am so old? Yeah, he had a question for them. I don't know the emphasis or the emotions attached to it, but he had this question for them. He says, do you still give me this good news? They said, the good news we give you is true. Do not despair. And despair is the absence of hope. They said, do not despair. Abraham said, none despairs of his Lord's mercy except the strayers. He said, "What is your mission, O messengers?" They said, "We are being dispatched to guilty people." Excuse me. Excuse me. As for Lot's family, we will save them all, but not his wife. She is destined to be with the doomed. So, to my knowledge, anyway, the most recent messenger um, that has came being um, the messenger of the covenant, he came with only good news: worship your God alone. And individuals, to this day still don't, support, just what God is you know, telling everyone to do is worship Him alone. Like I said earlier, ironically, when messengers come, we should be appreciative, but when they come, they're shot down and they're told to kick rocks, and or martyred for what they stand on. And it's a beautiful thing in actuality, doing what God tells you to do, not having any fear or any second thoughts or even analysis paralysis on what you're doing, because God has given you like the verified stamp, and it's supported now even in this generation. Like I said, I'm a new submitter. Like the number 19, some long ago submitters to God didn't know anything about the number 19 until a messenger came by God's leave with good news by God's leave. And it's a benefit for us to actually hone into the blessing, God revealed to us through our past messenger of the covenant. But it's a blessing that we can extract from his actions, that, he stood firm on worshiping God alone. Now he went through some things, as he has said in some of the audios, but he stayed firm on worshiping God alone. Now, with that being said, alhamdulillah, I would like to end off on the English Quran study. And inshallah, if we have any questions, I'd like to discuss with brothers and sisters.
MashaAllah, brother.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
MashaAllah. Praise be to God.
MashaAllah, brother. Thank you.
Praise
MashaAllah. Thank you, brother. MashaAllah, I wanted to comment on verse 47. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We remove all jealousy from their hearts. Like one family, they will be on adjacent furnishings. So certainly it's talking about the believers, and it's such a joy to see that jealousy, that characteristic that comes from our companions. And I believe everything happened, all these like bad traits and bad characteristics started to happen after Satan made that supercilious claim. And so we have one of his representatives in us, the jealousy, the idea of being jealous, and that we try to avoid, and we ask God to help us with that. And as submitters, since we know that everything is granted by God, and so that helps us a lot. So nobody owns anything; everything comes from God, and according to God's knowledge and His, wisdom and His, justice. So and it's so beautiful to see that even that little part, that something might remain in people's heart, it will be purified. It will be, God will remove all jealousy from their hearts, because there will be ranks, in heaven. And it's so amazing to know that, everybody will be satisfied with what they have, because they know that it's just, it's fair, and everybody's getting what they deserve. And it's so, amazing. And I remember the messenger of the covenant in one of his audios mentioned that there is no there's cooperation in heaven. There's no like, in the sense of like jealous competition. Everybody's helping the other person, the other soul, to strive to be better, and that's amazing, mashallah. And inshallah, we will be able to, do the same. We do our best to act the same way here, inshallah, trying to get over the idea of any sort of like jealousy or anything that might remain. And when it comes to submission, you see other people striving, it might, create some thoughts. Satan, might not leave people alone. And but it's good to know that, if you ask God, if we ask God, God will give us the same chance or similar chance, or equip us with a talent or something, or give us an idea to strive as well. And there is no jealousy, and God can provide for all of us, inshallah.
Oh, sorry, Shima, I missed a part of your comment earlier. You were saying that we submitters may get jealous.
No, not in the sense of jealousy, like competitive, in the terms of this is. I believe there's also a verse. This is something you should, compete for, like
should compete in righteousness.
Yeah, in righteousness. That's what I meant. Not in the idea of like worldly, material type of jealousy. In the sense of being more righteous. And if we ask God, God is the source of righteousness, and inshallah, He will help us to learn from other submitters who are, doing more righteous work, inshallah.
I think what Sister Shima means is envy instead of jealousy. Like, if I'm not mistaken, jealousy is where you look at somebody who has something that you don't have, and you wish you had that instead of them. So you wish you had it, and that way you could kind of show prominence over that person, right? Whereas envy is kind of like saying, "Oh, look at that person! They worked so hard to get that. Good for them." You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong; they're kind of sisters, but to see somebody who's righteous or practices more righteousness and be like, good for them. They deserve it. It's an example of what I should strive for. I think there's the difference. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I'm aware of that distinction between the word jealousy and envy. People believe that like envy is more positive. I used to think that too, but then I came across a verse, Surah 113, the last verse in the authorized translation, that says, "From the evils of the envious when they envy." So for me, even the idea of being envious is not very positive anymore. I used to think that it's a more positive term, but I no longer see any distinction, as far as...
Well, thank you for clarifying that. I didn't know that as well, but thank you for the reminder, sister. I appreciate it.
Mashallah.
Yeah, actually, so Brother Justin, the definition that you shared, it's a definition that I had heard in the past also, but that's not actually the standard definition of jealousy. Like if you ask ChatGPT, it says there's a difference, but the difference is not what we're thinking here. It says jealousy typically involves the feeling of insecurity, fear, and concern over a perceived threat to a relationship or possession. For example, feeling jealous when your partner spends time with someone else. Envy, on the other hand, involves coveting and desiring what someone else has, whether it's their possession, success, qualities, or circumstances. For example, feeling envious of a friend's new car or someone else's career achievements. So it's like, yes, so like if someone says something nice about a spouse of someone, or someone, a loved one, they start feeling jealous also. So that's another kind of jealousy, I suppose. But anyways, we know that from the Quran that jealousy is condemned, right? And I think we're all working on our egos, so it is not a good thing by any means. Like, we shouldn't never feel comfortable like it's okay in some ways, it's not a good trait, and it's something that we should all continue to work on. And if we have such feelings, like, we should address those feelings. Like, we should ask ourselves, like, why we're feeling that way. And obviously, when we turn to God, we can address. Sometimes those feelings could, bubble into something else, and so may God help us all. But yeah, this is good that jealousy doesn't exist in the hereafter, imagine like in the hereafter, someone having all that jealousy, because imagine all the trouble that could arise from people having jealousy. Masala. So, anyways, my I don't know if someone else has any input on that, but I do also have another comment I wanted to share.
Brother, just to clarify, I actually meant competition. I didn't
Okay.
mean jealousy.
Okay.
No, jealousy is not good in any ways. Like,
Mhm.
and it just destroys you, and it's it's like disrespecting yourself, and believing that
Makes you
you're less.
unhappy.
Yeah, it makes you unhappy, and makes you focus on the things that your companion wants to have, and distracts you from the things that you have, makes you very unappreciative, and it's like the whole thing is very unrighteous.
And I think the source of the jealousy, as Shima mentioned, is basically our jinn companion. The source of all the negative feelings that we have comes from that. And it's fear, sadness. And that's why we have in the Quran that, when you become, when you go into the kingdom of God, basically those who are with God will have no fear and no sadness. The same goes with, feeling of anger or jealousy or any bad or negative feature or characteristic that we know of. I think it all sources from the jinn companion. That's why when we are, God willing, inshallah, when if it is in our, future, if we are in the heaven, then because the jinn companion is removed from us, then that those all bad feelings are already gone with it, right? Or am I getting it wrong?
It just didn't fit. If I think before Genesis, the mistake that human being did, I mean, we made a mistake without having the companions, right?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe 114, chapter 114 is telling us also the human being is also whispering to himself sometimes, right? Which is really like we supposed to work on it if we can. I don't know. This is my opinion.
Brother
No,
Salami,
that makes sense.
sorry, Brother Salami, I didn't get your comment on chapter 114. What was about chapter 114?
Who whispers
Brother,
into the chests of the people, be they of the jinns or the people. When I was
okay.
like reading that verse, the people is like me. I sometimes making some bad things to myself.
Yeah, okay. You mean like your human side, right?
Right,
Not the jinn companion side. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. You mean like basically that feature is not necessarily all embedded in the jinn companion. It could be embedded in human side of the people as well, and God will remove that feature from the human side as well as removing the jinn companion from the soul. Correct?
Mashallah, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Mashallah. Mashallah. Yeah, makes sense. Mashallah.
Sorry, Brother
I think that
Sulaiman. I caught Brother Sulaiman when he was trying to make another comment. Sorry, just wanted to say that I think it's his turn.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
I was just saying, it's interesting that we were talking earlier about division, and we read these verses about division, and so this really defines what division is. Obviously, God doesn't want us to divide the religion. Real division is dividing the religion, and the religion is divided not only by separating. I mean, separating is a result of division, right? But the real division, is when you divide yourself from the religion, that you're no longer adhering to the religion of worshiping God alone, right? So, sometimes people may blame you for division, and saying that you're not following their idea, so you're dividing because you don't agree with what they believe. But in reality, or like, for example, people saying that, it's okay, like if certain people want to practice this way, you want to add this practice, they want to do these ideas, like let it be, because if you say something or if you point it out, like it's dividing, right? And I've heard like that uh, more than more than the other idea, by saying that, if you talk about certain things, you will cause division. But the verse clearly talks about what division is. That is, they divide the believers, and the division actually comes with accepting the Quran partially. So when God says, you shall be united and hold fast to the rope of God and do not be divided, it's talking about us upholding the Quran, upholding his commandments, and not deviating, and not picking and choosing and abusing the scripture, right? And so those who are doing it, that's the real division, and that sin lies upon the people who actually cause the division. So if people are disobeying God and creating innovations, or disregarding verses from the Quran, for example, when God says Quran is complete and it should be our only source of guidance, they are dividing the religion, and they are branching into sectarianism by creating those sects and dividing them. And so God doesn't want us to do that. But at the same time, like when things like these innovations creep up and you point out to them, we shouldn't feel bad about it, and we shouldn't feel sad, because we understand that God has the process, God has a sifting process, and God allows the good believers to be be together, and God says that the believers are united, right? So it's already a fact that God reconciles the hearts of the believers, and the believers are always united. So there are, you come across people sometimes that are saying, no, the believers, the people, the submission is divided and we have to unite them. And they try to put all kinds of people with all sorts of beliefs, including like fake messengers and whatnot, into one room, and thinking that if we are together in one room, or like if we pray in the same mosque, etc., that we will be united, right? But that's not going to bring unity. Unity comes from the heart, from you practicing the same beliefs, believing in the same fundamentals that God has provided for us in the Quran. I mean, anybody who deviates from that, anybody who doesn't follow those commandments, those are the ones who are actually causing the division actively by separating themselves from the religion.
MashaAllah. I think Brother Justin had a comment, right? Brother Justin, did you have a comment?
Sorry, I was trying to find the mute button there. I wanted Brother Suleiman brought a good point up with the division, but the conversation we had prior in regards to the ego, Brother Khalis, during his the study, brought up something that kind of changed my perspective, and that was none despairs in God's grace. And then he went to elaborate the actual definition of despair, the lack of hope of God's grace. And it kind of changed how I read that verse prior, because, none despairs of God's grace. Well, when God's given you good things, why would you despair? And that's kind of how I saw it. But now I see, like, regardless of the situation, you should always have hope that God's grace is upon you. And I think that's a very big perspective change. And maybe I'm hearing that wrong, but it was a kind of a perspective change for me. And God willing.
Are you saying, like, for example, about having hope for people, or is that I don't
know? No, for yourself. So, like, when you're in a tough situation or a pinch or whatever, your ego kind of tells you, life's hard, right?
Okay. I thought you related it to my comments. I got confused. I thought.
No, and that's why I was like, the thing, Brother Suleiman got a good point up of the division.
Okay, no, okay, then I'm a
But
separate.
going back to the prior conversation, no,
Okay.
please don't say that, brother.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, mashallah. So, that's, yeah, I mean, we should never despair from God's mercy. I mean, that's what distinguishes a believer from a disbeliever. It says, we see several verses in the Quran where God says that none despairs from God's grace except for the disbelievers. So we should never lose hope, no matter how bad your circumstances may seem, and never lose your hope in God. I mean, this is a very clear commandment for us in the Quran, mashallah. So I agree with Brother Khalis, mashallah. A good reminder for all of us. Also, I'd like to mention, talking about the dividers, when it says, therefore carry out the orders given to you and disregard the idol worshippers. We will spare you the mockers who set up another god beside God. They will surely find out. We know full well that you may be annoyed by their utterances. You shall sing the praises of your Lord and be with the prostrators, right? So I think this kind of also brings us back to our previous discussions about disbelievers and hypocrites, etc. So, you're bound to hear things, insults, etc., from people as you follow this path. And, God knows that these things are not easy to, experience. It's painful. A lot of oftentimes, it could be people who are close to you, your loved ones, people you looked up to in the past, maybe respected, had a place for in your heart, and you hear these things and they may hurt you or annoy you at the very least in some way. It does annoy you for sure, when you hear nonsense. But God says that to disregard it, like, and so the disregard doesn't mean that, like, if it comes up, you don't address it, or if it's there, like, don't resolve the issue, like, or it just means that don't don't like let it take away your happiness. Don't think about it to the point where it is annoying you. Now you start making a big deal out of it. And so in other words, like, you'll hear insults from people. Don't take them personally. Just disregard them, just ignore them. But that doesn't take away from the fact on other verses in the Quran on how you have to deal with them and how you have to respond in the situations that they occur. Like, somebody may say blaspheme about God, and they're having a discussion with you, and you have to respond to the discussion or debate with them in the nicest possible manner, for example, right? But for example, if I was just to take the one verse out of context, I would say, no, God says disregard the idol worshiper. So he said something about God, and I know he's an idol worshiper, so I'm just gonna, just completely ignore it, right? I mean, that's so that means that I'm just taking one verse out of context, and just that's kind of abuse of the scripture, right? So God tells us to be careful, and we have to remember to take the Quran in its entirety and to deal with the situations in a manner to disregard the idol worshippers and the hypocrites and the disbelievers, because imagine, like, a majority of the world, majority of the people in this world are disbelievers, and the majority of those who do believe are committing idol worship. So pretty much majority of people around us are disbelievers. And if you start thinking about what every disbeliever has to say and what they're saying wherever, like online or to you personally, or what they're doing, even, I mean, and if you just keep thinking about that and you just go like door to door, trying to fix everybody, that's not how it works, and that's not how we're supposed to live anyways, right? So they're doing idol worship, people are worshiping Jesus, people are worshiping Muhammad, just disregard them, like, I mean, I was recently in Saudi Arabia, and there was everyone around me was an idol worshiper, and I didn't feel like I want to go to everybody, like the people chanting Muhammad's name and all these other saints and stuff. But I didn't make it my business to just correct everyone, right? I mean, I have to do worshiping, my own worshiping to God alone, and so I'm disregarding them, right? But at the same time, like I still have to deal with any situations that, thank God, nothing happened. But let's say anything comes up, I'm just trying to give an example, right? I have to handle those situations based on the Quran. Same being here, like you have all these idol worshippers anywhere in the world, actually, for that matter. I mean, there's idol worshippers and disbelievers. So we just have to ignore them, like in the sense, just phase it out, of your mind. Like, don't don't let it bother you. In other words, right? But that could not be misunderstood to think that it's just something that has to be like completely ignored, like it doesn't exist in that sense, right? We still have verses in the Quran where God tells us not to befriend hypocrites and not to marry idol worshippers. And so all these things require judging them based on what God says in the Quran. So I'm not talking about prejudging, premature judging, or unjust, judging based on a person's personal opinions or prejudices. But I'm talking about judging based on distinguishing good and bad and wrong and right based on what God's laws are in the Quran, because God says with the Quran we can judge, and so based on those judgments, then we have to respond to those situations accordingly.
MashaAllah. I have actually a comment on verses which are not actually angels visit Abraham. Brother Khalis, would you allow me to share the screen, because I just wanted to show some other.
Make sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, brother. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So stop sharing. You want?
Yes, I would appreciate it. Thank you. MashaAllah. Yes. So here, MashaAllah, we have A'udhu Billah Minash Shaitan Rajim, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. So basically, we have in verse 51, starting this part, angels visit Abraham, inform them about Abraham's guests. When they entered his quarters, they said, peace. He said, we are apprehensive about you. So the thing is that, this is what Abraham said to the angels. And we have in another part of the Quran that we have verses that talks about, first of all, he brought them like a roasted calf, and then, they didn't eat. And then he became apprehensive of them because why wouldn't you eat? And then he understood that they are angels. And then they said that, do not be apprehensive. We have good news for you, an enlightened son. So basically, this is the part that they give the glad tidings of another son to Abraham and basically his wife. Yes. And then this is at the time that Isaac, the future is said that Isaac is going to be born. And then he said, how can you give me such good news when I am so old? Do you still give me this good news? And then we have in another part, they said, the good news we give you is true. Do not despair. He said, none despairs of his Lord's mercy except the strayers. He said, what is your mission, O messenger? They said, we are being guilty people. So the interesting part is that in another part of the Quran, we have in verse 73, so chapter 11, verse 73, that they said, do you find it strange for God? God has bestowed his mercy and blessings upon you, O inhabitants of the shrine. So my question is that when we are talking about the shrine, inhabitants of the shrine, it means Mecca, correct? It means the inhabitants of the sacred shrine of Kaaba, correct? If brothers and sisters have any idea in this. So they were located at that time, Abraham and his wife were in Mecca, right? Because this is the exact account of angels visiting them and talking about, the glad tidings of Isaac, and after Isaac, Jacob. And then the wife of Abraham said, woe to me, how could I bear a child at my age? And here's my husband, an old man. This is really strange. So then this is what the angels are saying to Abraham and his wife, O inhabitants of the shrine. So this shrine refers to the sacred shrine of basically Masjid al-Haram and the Kaaba in Mecca, correct?
Should be.
If
Yes,
anybody...
sounds like yes.
Okay, so
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. And it just says inhabitants of the shrine. So,
but if it is not Mecca,
it's not very specific, yeah, isn't it?
Well, the thing is that if it is not specific, then which shrine is it talking about? When we say a shrine, because we have only one sacred.
Yeah, because the thing is, when this is the point of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So they migrated.
Correct, but these were yes, but these were angels. They could, easily transfer themselves from wherever they were to another location, because we have the jinns that were, basically serving Prophet Solomon, right? And then in a blink of an eye, and we know that jinns are fallen angels. Okay, in a blink of an eye, one of the
go ahead.
One of the Ifrit, one of the jinns said that before you blink your eye, I will bring you the palace of Shiva. Okay, so they are very strong creatures. I don't think distance in that sense would matter to them. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it doesn't really matter which one is talking about, but the thing is that we also know that when he migrated, they built the shrine when he migrated. Like, it wasn't like the shrine was there and the angels knew that the shrine is there, right?
What do you mean? So this could be possibly after the time that Kaaba was built, right?
Huh?
So this account of history, okay, this could be after the time that Kaaba was built. Basically Abraham had already built Kaaba, because this is the time that they are giving the glad tidings of the coming of Isaac. So basically already.
Okay, so how do you? This is my question. How do you know this is Isaac?
What do you mean this is Isaac? What they are saying that they are giving you.
Yeah, there is another verse in there.
Okay, yeah, that one. Okay, but I mean,
yes.
Sorry. So, yeah. So that verse mentions, but I'm saying, we know from those verses that when they are there, right? They're building the Kaaba. When they actually go there, they're building it. So it's not like they go there and then they came back and then they're going there, right? That's
going where? I'm getting confused.
Like going from Mecca to Jordan or whatever. Where is it?
Why?
So
why not?
Huh?
Why not? Why not? Why not going between the two places for the angels?
No, I'm not talking about the angels. I'm talking about Abraham.
Oh. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that because here we have, they are saying, "O inhabitants of the shrine." So the angels are telling Abraham, "O inhabitants of the shrine." I gathered from this part, and due to the fact that they're talking about the birth of Isaac, this shrine could be possibly talking about the Kaaba, because we don't have any other sacred shrine or the shrine mentioned in the Quran other than the Kaaba. Do we have anything? That was my question.
But also, it could be a shrine as a sanctuary also, right? Shrine could also be a sanctuary where they just worshipped. But I mean, that's just speculation anyway.
I'm not following, brother. I'm not following. What do you mean?
I'm saying, okay, let's say so Abraham is there and there's no Kaaba and he lives in another country. And so they must have a place of worship, right?
But this is the time that already Kaaba was built. We're talking about the birth of Isaac, So Ismail, when he was born, huh?
I'm saying it could be. Yeah.
Or maybe he traveled, the point is that we don't know exactly which shrine is that, We might want to think we are tempted to say that it's Kaaba because, like, he built the shrine with Ishmael and then he was given the good news of the son Isaac.
So,
but we
and
don't.
Dr. Khalifa, and Dr. Khalifa mentioned that Isaac was like basically maybe 13 so at the time that they were giving the glad tidings of Isaac to Abraham and his wife. Ismail was already a grown man. He was like maybe 14, 15 years old. So basically, it was already Kaaba was built, or maybe close to be 14 years, mashallah, Sister Mona. Yeah, so. Already the Kaaba was built. So this is the time that already the Kaaba is built. That's why they are saying that, oh, inhabitants of the shrine, because if it is another shrine or anything like that, we don't have any account of it in the Quran. Which shrine is it talking about?
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I thought that that's when he migrated, right?
Migrated where?
To Saudi Arabia, and then he built a shrine when he migrated. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying like he migrated when didn't he migrate when that old town where they lived was destroyed, right? I mean, I would think that's when they did the migration, right? Like
which town was destroyed?
I think what he's trying to say is, I guess I'm understanding it too. So like Abraham, when he went to Saudi Arabia, that's when the shrine was built, and then he did it like if the shrine was already in existence and he had to go to Saudi Arabia, build it, and then he's backtracking to where he's at now. Like, if that would make
why
sense.
would he build a shrine in Kaaba and then come back to? I'm just asking, like, why would he build a shrine and then come back to another country and settle there?
Okay, may I ask a question? So, which verse in the Quran is saying that when he built the Kaaba, he went back to Jerusalem?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that it's more like a hypothetical question to.
Okay.
To inspire thinking.
So if it is hypothetical, well, we know that. So, Brother Justin, you would like to speak? Go ahead, brother. So, okay. So that was not...
no.
Okay, Brother Justin didn't want to speak.
I would like to go after him. I think, Brother... well, if I could say something. It's only using the Quran based on what, you had brought up. So... in 69, it says, when our messengers went to Abraham with good news, they said peace, and he said peace. And then also on 52, angels visit Abraham. When they entered his quarters, they said peace. And he said, we are apprehensive about you. And then there was one more thing that was similar to, there was one more. So there was two things that I noticed that was similar with this. So the peace that was said, and then... shoot, there was one more. Sorry. Inshallah, if I find it, I'll say something. But yeah.
Brother Khalis, are you talking about the thing that these two things are part of the same story? Is that what you're saying?
Now, that's what I'm seeing is similar. When the angels went to Abraham, it says peace. And then also in like the different, in 11, it says the same, like it says the same thing the angel said to him.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah,
Can I ask you, Masood, to show Surah 37, verse 102?
Just give me one moment.
And by the way, to clarify, 37, 102. I also think this is the shrine, and he didn't necessarily travel after building the Kaaba. And but again, I'm open to, discussion, inshallah.
Actually, I think we're saying that he was already in Mecca.
Yes,
that's what we are saying. Yes.
Okay. I thought you were saying that no, he was traveled or something.
No, I didn't say that because the angels are saying that, oh, inhabitants of the shrine. So basically, this is the time that...
So the angels are in Mecca, basically, you're saying.
Yes, correct. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Mashallah, brother.
I get it. Mashallah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, if we agree upon that, that's the next piece of thing, because I was building this idea in my head. But I first wanted to make sure that the shrine that we are talking about is Kaaba. And as a matter of fact, Abraham and his wife are in Mecca at that moment when they're given the glad tidings of the birth of Isaac, and after Isaac, Jacob, by the angels. Okay. And then the angels said, subhanallah. when Abraham's fear subsided and the good news was delivered to him, he proceeded to argue with us on behalf of Lot's people, you know? So basically, they told him already that, okay, we're going to be dispatched because we have it over here, that we're going to be dispatched to the people of Sodom and Gomorrah here. None this, okay. Yes. What is your mission, O messengers? They said, we are being dispatched to guilty people. As for Lot's people, we will save them all.
Yeah.
And then, subhanAllah, yes, if that is the case, then, well, Abraham and his wife were in Mecca, and I just wanted to show that. So there are some places that they say Sodom and Gomorrah is a location to the southern eastern part of the Dead Sea. I mean, I just checked ChatGPT, and it said that there are some locations that scholars agree upon. It's called, one of them is Bab ed Ra, and one of them is Numera. So they are historically known as Sodom and Gomorrah. And then if that is the case, then this is the distance between, you know, Mecca and basically Sodom and Gomorrah, if you follow this blue line. And subhanAllah, look, they just came to, you know, to Abraham and his wife. The angels came to Abraham and his wife, gave the glad tidings and said that we're going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. We're being dispatched to the, you know, guilty people, and we are going to save Lot's family except for his wife. So as we know, they're very strong creatures, and subhanAllah, this distance is very long. You know, by car, if you want to go by car, it's 15 hours drive, you know, and then there was no road back then. There was no, you know, they had to go by thing, but then we understand that how strong these creatures are. You know, that's just something that just...
Sorry, which creatures are you talking about? The angels?
Yes, the angels that they came to Abraham and his wife in Mecca, right? And told them that you're going to have the son Isaac, and then they said that we are being dispatched to Sodom and Gomorrah to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah all the way here in India. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. MashaAllah, just a thought, MashaAllah.
Yeah, but I mean, think about how these people traveled from Mecca to from Jordan to Mecca, right? I mean, that's 15 hours of driving.
Correct. Yes, but they were angels. You know, they could do. They are very strong.
The people. The angels can travel.
Yes, the people. Yeah. Yes, they had to go by donkeys, and you know, God knows by what other means, maybe camel. And they probably took them at least a month or so, you know, to go from one place to another.
Yeah,
yeah,
and I mean, it's so hot
or something.
Yeah, and it's so hot, you know.
Yes, the Arabian desert is really hot. Yes. Thanks for listening to me, mashallah.
You're welcome.
As a historical significance, the Bible kind of leans on that assumption as well, because after Lot and Abraham split ways, Lot apparently grabs a plant, like a very lush green fielded area, whereas Abraham goes with his family to a plantless valley. When they settle in that plantless valley, the first thing they do is they build an altar to God. So that kind of leans on in the historical value.
Is that mentioned in the Bible that they built Kaaba?
They say they built an altar to God. That was like once they settled down, they built an altar to God.
Can you tell me which part of the Bible it is, brother?
I just remember it from Sunday school, brother.
Okay.
I don't know the exact verse.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
But I can look it up for ChatGPT. He's a good listener. So hold on.
Okay, mashallah, mashallah.
Isn't it that in Torah
Brother
it says when the messengers went to Abraham and they said they're going to Lot, Abraham was overlooking Lot's land. It's very where the circumcision is. I think I've read that. Let me just look for it.
Yes, Sister Mona, that's what I also read in Bible that said that when the angels were dispatched to, Abraham was looking over a cliff or, some sort of hill looking at Sodom and Gomorrah. But the thing is that probably that would have been the case for, the fabricators to cover the track of any, mentioning
Mecca.
of Kaaba and the building of Kaaba by Abraham,
Yeah, no, I mean, in terms of Bible confirming this,
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. I think I read it the other way around.
Yes, but then I didn't know that what Brother Justin said about, Abraham building an altar to God. I didn't know that it was in Bible.
I just typed it in ChatGPT, and this is what it says. It says, the Bible records an account of Abraham building an altar with his son in Genesis 22. In this narrative, God tests Abraham of faith by instructing him to sacrifice his son Isaac. As they journey to the designated place, Abraham and Isaac build the altar together, and Abraham offers to sacrifice his son. However, God provides a ram and sacrifices. So it's after he was. That's when they say they build the altar together.
So subhanallah, they have the fabricators have basically changed the name of Ismail with Isaac, because we know that Isaac was the one who was going to be sacrificed, right? But then they didn't cover the track of building the Kaaba in.
So you said because Isaac was the
No,
one who was going to be sacrificed, Ishmael was the one.
No, I know Ishmael was going to be, according to Quran, we know that Ishmael was going to be sacrificed. Yes, but the thing is that in the Bible, they have put the name of Isaac in the place of Ishmael.
No,
that's what I'm saying. They said that they have.
No, you said because we know that Isaac was supposed to.
Oh no, okay. So sorry. I was thinking at the same time that I was talking. Probably it came out wrong.
Yeah, I actually had another off-topic question that came up, as a follow-up on my sermon yesterday. I was talking about, passing our admission test, God willing, and appreciating God's blessings and stuff. And so there was a discussion came about, and it came to my attention that there was a discussion I had missed from the study on the 6th of January when it was my wedding. So I think there was some discussion about admission tests, right, and the duration of the admission tests. And so I see that in the from the audio when the messenger is explaining it. He says the admission test usually happens, with usually last. I'm paraphrasing, so don't. But he says it usually lasts usually happens or lasts. I don't know. Usually happens within the first 5 years, right? And but he said, don't worry, like it could take you 2 months or whatever, right? It could be less, also. So, but the thing is, he uses the word usually, right? Which means if I say like your tests will happen within 5 years, like that would be perfectly fine if it's only going to be within 5 years, like definitely, right? But what is the purpose of saying usually within 5 years? Because even 2-3 months is within 5 years. So I don't have to use the word usually, but the word usually is used to say that's the norm. Like normally, usually, typically, mostly, it will be within 5 years. But there could be exceptions where, say, a person is not as good, So like someone who's really, if you're really good, he said you could pass it in a month, right? So if you're really good, you could pass it in a month. If you're not that good, maybe 4 years, 5 years, whatever. But if you're still struggling with your submission, it could take you longer, right? That's why we say usually, right? So the thing is, if we say no, let's say like we say usually, for whatever reason we must understand it, right? So then we realize that we have come up with an absolute number now that it's only going to be 5 years must, right? So then it becomes a religious law that we have, like just like the age of 40, right? We have come up with a number as a law where we're saying it is that number, and we know that there's no such number mentioned in the Quran, right? So it's an estimate. Usually, he says within the first 5 years. And if we say that it's that way, then it implies that there are other things uh, besides the Quran where there could be laws like that, and we're looking at the audios and we find something like that, and then we say, yeah, that's what it is. It has to be 5 years. So I wanted to say that that's the. I'm not saying anybody's saying that or anybody believes that other sources besides the Quran, but when you imply that uh, as a sort of a byproduct of thinking that way, then you have to accept that there are other sources, like other places, other things where you can extract laws, right? So there are no other laws other than the laws that are mentioned in the Quran, and the messenger doesn't bring anything extra, right? So based on the general idea of okay, it being a series of tests, it could be 2 months, 3 months, usually like around 5 years or so, so it's giving like a general, like a rough idea, but it's not like five is not a magic number. Like it's not like the age of 40 where if someone dies after their 41st birthday, I mean, or after their 40th birthday, they're not going to be saved, right? That's an absolute number that's mentioned in the Quran, and the messenger was, of course, had the liberty to extract that information, right? But there's no such thing about the number five, where you could come up with an absolute number and use it to make a law. And also, then I didn't understand. I was listening to the conversation, right? And so I didn't understand, like, what was implied. Like, okay, so 5 years passed, somebody's in an admission test, and a whole 5 years have passed, and let's say he didn't pass, right? So what happens? What would happen then, right? Um, like, it doesn't make sense, because if, let's say somebody was doing 4 years and they didn't pass, and then he got another year and he still had time, but then someone was not able to do it in 5 years, and then God put a stop to it. So does that mean that person fails and goes to hell, or are we saying no, then you automatically pass because you passed the 5-year maximum limit of being tested? But that wouldn't make sense either, because a person doesn't pass. If a person doesn't pass,
Yeah.
he has to continue to take the test until he passes, right?
Yeah, it was. I think I remember one of the members that is not here anymore. He mentioned that some people don't even pass, and to me that doesn't make any sense because God knows who is getting how many admission tests over what time. But I
So
was just I mean, based on what the messenger said, we know that 5 is not a magical number, but when he said don't worry, it's like he's implying that at least as far as I understand, I'm not making any rules here, but it means, like, linguistically, it means that it's going to be used. That usually for me it means that it's like it could be 2 or 3 or 5, or as you said, or so. But I believe the messenger would never dare to make up something from his own head and like put it out there. And I think what the people are understanding from that is wrong. That if somebody is over 5 years and is not having what God has promised, and it means that they have failed the test. The messenger
okay,
doesn't talk about failing the test.
okay.
It's just saying,
Can I stop you
yeah,
there for a second? I don't mean
yeah,
to cut you off, but I think what the person was saying, and Brother Nizam was. I think you're talking about Nizam, right, Brother Nizam? So I think what he
right,
was
yeah.
saying is, like, he said that being a submitter is easy. He says staying a submitter is difficult because people come and they fail the test, right? There's such a thing as people failing the test, right? Or people not being able to make it. Like, and he's talking about the contemporaries of the messenger, and we know those people. We know people who died of cancer and stuff after struggling and falling in Satan's traps, right? So that's perfectly right. Like, people come into submission and they seem like good believers. They start, and this is exactly how God describes hypocrites in the Quran. It says their allegory is like, the example is like those who start a fire. As soon as the fire begins to shed light around them, God takes away their light. So they're seeing they're falling, some light comes and they move, and then light is taken away. So, like, you see people come in, join submission, follow the path, and then they fall off. Many people even revert, they leave submission altogether, right? people follow various ways. I've given examples of people now are very close to me here. There are women are leading the prayers and stuff. I mean, these people were reading Quran with us and everything, you know, very close to the messenger, some of them, and so his family, and at least. So I mean, that's what it means, right? I mean, people come, and I mean, if there is such a thing that everybody, there's no such thing as everybody passing the test, right? If there's a test means some people will pass, some people will fail because they're giving lip service, right? If you're not giving lip service, yes, you can pass within 5 years, maybe 6 years, but you will pass, right? If you're sincere, you will pass. But if you're not sincere and you're just giving lip service, you're gonna fail, right? So if everybody passes, that doesn't wouldn't make sense logically, right? So that's what he
Okay, so
meant.
that creates a question for me. I take the messenger's word literal, and I'm not gonna
What do
like
you mean?
take it here and say no. I take it 5 or less, and
No,
I
when you
don't.
say you take the
Yeah.
messenger literal, he uses the word usually, right?
Yeah, I
If
think
it's
your
Usually,
usually
yes.
within
understanding,
Usually,
5 years,
your
yes.
understanding of
Usually
usually
within.
within
okay.
is
So
incorrect. You
look,
know,
Shima. I
the
think this
word
is the
usually.
disconnect here.
Yes.
This is the disconnect here, right? If he
Yes.
says 5 years or less, which he does say that, right? So two,
Mm-hmm.
3 months is within 5 years, right?
Yes.
So
True.
you don't have to say usually.
Yes, it's already implied.
It's already means it says within 5 years means 5 years or less. So you don't have to use the
Mm-hmm.
word usually.
Mm-hmm.
Usually is being
Yeah.
used when they say usually within 5 years means it could be more than 5 years too.
So why
That's
is
the
he saying
opposite.
don't worry? Why is he saying don't
Don't
worry?
worry because
Why?
yeah, if you're good, it might not take you 5 years. It might not take you
Uh-huh.
long. You could do it quickly. Don't worry. Like if you're good, which most of us aren't, by the way. So, but if you're good, you can pass it sooner,
Mhm.
right?
But it
But
also
what I'm
leaves the
saying is,
path open
I
for
understand where you're
people.
coming from. Hold on, I
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from with your confusion about the usually,
Mm-hmm.
because you're looking at like it's a logical thing, okay? So you're saying 5 years or less, and so if he says usually, usually you're saying usually 5 years or less. So look at the usually, right? Within if he says it usually takes 5 years, that would be different than saying usually within 5 years, because within already means five or less. If he says it usually takes 5 years, that means usually for some people it takes 5 years, but don't worry, it could take you 2-3 months, right?
But it's
That
definitely
would
not
be
Right.
20
different.
years because I've heard people saying that it's 10 years, 20 years, and it's like it leaves some room for people not doing the right job, their job right, and not passing as they should. And then, like putting it in the messenger's mouth that he said usually, so it's like 20 years, it's been 20 years, and I'm still not passing.
Well, who
So it's
said? I
like,
don't. I don't think anybody said. Like, forgive me if that was said or anything. We're not putting anything in the messenger's mouth at all.
no,
We're
I'm
just
not.
correcting the fact what
Implicitly,
usually.
people might perceive that if they are not
Uh,
doing a good job as
Can we
submitters
let
and if
right.
one
they're
person
failing,
finish before we?
yeah.
But we're not. Well, I mean, like we have to be careful, because I mean, we're not. It's not to say that it would take someone 20 years, but if it happens that way, I mean, God knows everybody's situation, and but no, I mean, the term usually like incites that. I mean, as was said earlier, it incites. It could be more.
Mhm. Yeah, because he's saying within 5 years, he doesn't have to use usually, right? If it says usually takes 5 years, then you could say, okay, usually he said 5 years, but then it could be less, like 2-3 years, right? But when he says usually within 5 years, that means, yeah, usually within 5 years, or in the exceptional cases, more than 5 years.
Like if I say I usually get to work 5 minutes early, like there's going to be situations like, okay, if I always got to work within 5 minutes early, I would just say, okay, I get to work within 5 minutes early. But if I say usually within 5 minutes early, there's going to be sometimes where I might be 8 minutes early,
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
8 minutes, or maybe a little later. I
yeah.
mean, I'm just
Yeah,
driving
mashallah.
a
I'm
point.
not. I'm not hung up on that usually word. I'm hung up on the word don't worry because it implies that you don't need to worry and it's not going to last more than 5 years. That don't worry implies that
No, it
he's
says don't
assuring
worry. Don't worry
people.
has a condition, but don't worry has a condition, right? The condition is if you're good. If you're good and you do everything right, you can pass in 2-3 years.
Yes,
Don't worry.
inshallah. Yes,
I mean, I
right?
understood
So,
it's kind
but
of
that
like
doesn't mean that just
don't
everybody should
stress,
not
like
not
don't
worry and
stress,
become
or yeah, don't
complacent. Yeah.
stress, like maybe don't stress or think too much into it. Like, oh, is it going to take me this long, or is it going to take me that long? Like, everything's going to be
Okay, that
okay.
that also brings me to another question. So about Joseph, brother, Prophet Joseph, and we know that like admission tests are sudden things that happen out of nowhere when you are, inshallah, righteous and you're doing your part. And this happens to Satan wants to claim you, and this happens to actually show that you're worshiping God under any circumstances. So, and these are different than a blessing in disguise or when people get pinches. And so, when it comes to Prophet Joseph, he was definitely already happy because when we pass the admission test, the purpose is to bring us that happiness that God promises and to God's kingdom, inshallah. So, when it comes to Prophet Joseph, one might argue that he was still going through his admission test. Just I wanted to ask this question that over all those years that he was in prison, it was a blessing in disguise, right? It wasn't an admission test because he already had that dream and he was a righteous, I think, teenager or something. I don't know. But these are the things that I think we should take into account that somebody might pass their admission test, but they still have blessing in disguise. They still get pinches that shouldn't be confused with admission tests. That's something
Right.
that
I
we
think
should
I
also.
think we're kind of digressing here. Like,
He still could have failed, like for the governor's wife. Like, so after he got taken by his brothers, I mean, there's still situations where he implored to make the right decision, right?
That was the
Like, I mean, during the whole journey. But I mean, as Brother Suleiman here, I don't kind of understand why we're going into this.
The reason is that there's a reason behind it, and I don't want to like create a wedge among us. But the thing is that we
no, why
didn't
would you
discuss
create
the
a
things
wedge?
that
We're just discussing Quranic
it's
stuff.
discussing things that because if we don't mention what's in our head, later on we might feel a
No,
certain
it's
way that
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
so
But I'm
that's why
saying,
I'm discussing.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But I'm
So,
saying,
brother,
like,
just allow me that I'm not digressing to another path. I'm just saying that there are things that happen after the 5 years that might not necessarily be the admission test. You might have been already admitted,
yeah,
and
of
you are
course,
happy.
yes,
And this could be pinches and
yeah.
blessing in
Purification.
disguise.
The messenger talks about
Yes.
purification. Yeah,
That's
process.
what I
Yes.
mean.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that, if somebody doesn't feel after so many years, doesn't feel that they're there the way they want it to happen, it could be like a blessing
Yeah,
in disguise.
It could
Or
be.
I know somebody who is very, reverent, but they immigrated. They left everything they had in their home country and they came to a new country because of religion, because of them being oppressed. And now they are having a tough time, like financially. So they are still, that doesn't mean that they are happy,
Yeah, but
despite that situation.
no, I mean
Yes.
that on itself, you're right. I mean, somebody when you pass your admission test doesn't mean that you're not gonna have purification process. That continues, but that what we're talking about is the admission test, right? And
Mhm.
honestly, there's so many examples in the Quran, and if you bring up any one of them, and we can start discussing whether it was admission test or blessing in disguise, we might not reach a final conclusion that we might both agree with. But if you just think about it, I'm not suggesting either way, because I'm not 100% sure in terms of for example, Jacob's story, right? But it's just something we should think about. I mean, definitely he was a very devoted servant of God, and you brought up the example of Joseph, right? So Jacob, also from his perspective, like, had to wait a lot. He lost two of his beloved children, and it was a very tough. It would be very tough for him. Like, we know that he almost lost his eyesight from grieving over them too much. And so, I mean, how would you categorize that? I'm not sure.
I actually have
My first
can I
inclination was towards
yeah.
it being his admission test, but
Yeah, can I share my idea here? Because I
just
believe
let me
that
just let me just give me 1 or minute to
I
finish
thought you
my
asked a
trail of thought.
question. Sorry.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute. So what I'm saying is, I mean, that is my 2 cents on the Joseph's situation example, But the thing is, we're talking about taking the messenger's words and interpreting them incorrectly, and it's just based on English. Like, this is not a theological difference, but it's just you have to dissect the sentence and understand the words, what he said. I mean, if he said it usually takes 5 years, it's different from saying it's usually happens within 5 years, right? Because within already means 5 years or less. So he doesn't have to use the word usually. But when he uses the word usually, that means that's the norm, and then there are other exceptions. So just without going into other examples and other discussions, just if you just logically just look at his sentence and you say you want to take his words literally, this is what he's saying usually, And when he says don't worry, it means don't worry. If you're good, you can pass it sooner. You don't have to wait long. You could pass it sooner. So you could pass it sooner. If you're worried, don't be worried. If you're thinking people might judge you, don't worry. Don't think about what people think, But
So when
if you,
people
but
ask
he
us,
says the test is going to be tough, right? So people are going to be worried, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be tested. Yeah, he says, don't worry. If you're good, you pass sooner. But the truth is, the truth is, this life is not an easy test. We were ignorant to come here and think we're going to make it. So it's not an easy test. Many people are going to fail. Many people aren't going to make it. And as we know, many people aren't making it. It's the minority of the minority. So, like, there shouldn't be any confusion about people failing the test. People, of course, people will try, but when they fail, then some people go to a point where there's no hope. They lose hope. Then God's, their doubts overtake them. They become hypocrites, and the retribution comes. So what are hypocrites? Hypocrites are people who fail, right? They give lip service, and then when the test comes, they fail, and it's proven that they are not sincere. They fail it for one reason or another, and they, like, someone could be tested with poverty, and he might choose to become, let's say, a drug dealer. Not going back to the previous conversation about drug dealers, but anyways, yeah, go ahead.
So when someone asks us about the admission test, what we have is to refer to the exact sentence without giving them any interpretation, right? And let them decide what the messenger is saying. That's what I meant to do on that session that you missed, to just bring the information for the people to see. Because I hear people saying that it could last like 20 years without any evidence of, like, they also have their own magic numbers. It's not like,
no, he's
at
saying
least what
he
I
doesn't
have
believe. Yeah, no,
is
I mean,
what
no,
the
shut up.
messenger said.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was just saying that he thought he heard it could take longer, what he meant, So, but yeah, there's no magic numbers, of course. We're not saying there's any magic numbers. And I think we should be careful how we word
there's
these
no,
things.
hang on, I just want to say this. There's no interpretation to that sentence. I mean, like the English, I'm trying to be, I guess just drive the point home because I don't know. What I'm saying is, there's no such thing as, interpreting that sentence. Let people interpret that sentence. Like, that's clear. Like, if you use that sentence in any other respect, or you ask like a third party, they're gonna have the same conclusion. If you don't, then maybe I don't know what to say.
Yeah, he just pointed out that he says usually, because it sounded like you were saying no, it has to be, and it was right. You were saying it has to be. I think you had a misunderstanding there, but he was just pointing out that it's okay. I mean, nobody takes it personally, God willing, but he's just pointing out that it's usually, and it's right. There's usually 5 years. But it could take longer if the person's not good, right? What's the opposite? A person who's good, he takes 2-3 years. The opposite is, in rare cases, somebody might struggle. Some people may have certain weaknesses that they can't overcome, and it takes them time. And that's okay if somebody doesn't pass their test in 5 years. I don't think I passed my test in 5 years, to be very blunt and frank and transparent about, what I feel. I went through really tough things, actually, a little bit later, in my submission. So, and I've seen other people that still don't think that they passed their admissions test, but nobody looks down on them or anything like that. I mean, we know it's not going to be easy, and we have to be tested thoroughly. And like you said, there's also purification that happens afterwards, right? But I shouldn't worry about what anybody else thinks about my submission. At the end of the day, we should really worry about what's going to happen on the day of judgment, So,
Yeah,
but,
as long as we are alive, we have time to repent and reform. It's not like, it's not like. But the thing is that Messenger of the Covenant is always very careful with his words. I don't see him like would make any, like, he could just have said like, okay, it's going to last as long as you purify yourself. It's going to, don't worry, it's going to last like as long as your soul allows, or things like that. That 5 for me was significant, but for
He
some
could have
people
been
it's
giving
not.
him hope too.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
kind of how I look. Like he was kind of like easing, like telling him not, don't worry, like, or think, or like start assuming it could be 15 years. He's giving him hope in terms like, okay, 5 years is could be the case with a lot of people, And I do want to apologize for throwing out that arbitrary number. I think it was 20. But that was, I mean, as Brother Sweetman just said.
But he didn't say, but look, no, to be fair, John, you didn't say it is 20 absolute, for example, right? You said it could be 20.
I didn't. I was just,
it's
I
like
was
me
just
saying
throwing
it
it
could be
out there.
7, doesn't mean I'm throwing a magic number.
Yeah.
I actually, Brother John
Yes.
mentioned that I heard somewhere, well, I think I heard, he
Yeah,
said,
that was my
yes.
issue. That's what I was. I apologize.
Masood, if you allow me, there's something I wanted to ask actually here, and it's good, praise be to God that this topic came up. I hear some people like get the message, but they just ignore it for years, like 10 years, 5 years. And then when they hear about the admission test, they consider those 5 years of ignoring the message as part of their admission test. And because when you say la ilaha illallah and you become a submitter, you start following the message and you start practicing. It's not like somebody hears and then the admission test starts. This
True.
is something that people, I think, should take into account. That
Yeah. No,
yes,
I think that's understood very well. That
yes.
the admission test starts when you say I believe and I'm going to follow. I mean, if you're still drinking and whatever, I mean, you're already feeling like there's no testing you, because I mean, testing is for like, okay, if I want to find out like where you stand, but you're already failing right now. You're already in Satan's pocket. There's no point in testing that person, right? But if you say I'm going to worship God alone, and I decide to become a submitter, then the test happens.
Okay, mashallah. And if somebody asks you about what the messenger said about the admission, just for my own information, so that when I talk to people, I can convey the right message. What I heard is that it lasts usually within 5 years. Okay, it could be less. This is what I heard, but I'm not going to add another part to
No,
people and let them
if
know
that's
that.
not that's not even how he says it, Shima. That's the point. When he says them separately, right? So if you play the audio,
It's on the
Yeah,
screen
let me
now.
play the audio. That would be, I think,
if you
better.
play the audio, he's saying that it usually happens within the first 5 years, and then he says that it could take you. Don't worry, like if you're good, it could take you less time, like 2 years, 2 months, or 3 months.
Mashallah, yes.
Right?
Okay,
But
so that means I'm not supposed to tell people that it could last you longer. That's what I'm saying. I
no,
can't add
you can't,
another.
but no, it's.
I mean,
You're
it
supposed to
could,
say it
but you kind of
exactly as
want
the
to.
messenger says. If he says
Yeah.
usually, then you have to say usually, right? Then
Yeah,
take
I
the word
say.
usually out, because usually within 5 years, 2-3 months is within 5 years, right? So
Okay,
there's
so
no
as
point
long
in
as we
saying
keep
usually.
usually in the word when we are conveying this message to people, that's fine. We don't have to add another understanding that it could last you longer, depending on
But
all
that's
these
the
things.
that's
But
the
that's kind of
implication.
what it
That's the
usually
understood definition of
implies.
usually,
Okay.
is that there could be exceptions.
Okay, so as
Yeah,
long as we have
exceptions to
that
the rule.
usually in our words, that's fine, right?
Yeah, usually 5 years means
Okay.
automatically means it could be longer.
Okay.
You know, usually within 5 years, automatically means.
Yes, honestly, I'm not saying that the automatic things out loud. You know, I leave it to
Right,
people.
right.
Yes, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So this is it. God's law. You have to realize that there is an admission test, and the admission test is very exacting. Very exacting. Usually, in the first 5 years after you claim that you come to worship God alone, doesn't mean it will last 5 years. Don't be scared. It comes within. If you're proven to be a total submitter completely in the first month, then it is over.
Mm-hmm.
But you must realize it happens, and all the while you're in God's hands. This test is very tough. Where is Mahmoud?
So may I add something here? So mashallah, as we had discussion, I just like an example came to my mind. For example, say that a person is doing PhD program, right? For example, they say, the university says that usually, okay, it is 5 years, right? But if you're a good PhD
No,
student,
not usually 5 years. Usually within 5 years. There's a difference.
Yes, usually within 5 years, correct, yes.
Yes.
Usually within 5 years. So basically, if you are a good student, okay, well, it's not comparable to admission test, because admission test can, as the messenger said, can be finished within 1 month. But if you are, for example, a very good student and doing everything right, doing your dissertation, taking the courses, you will be done within, for example, 3 years or 3 years and a half. But if you are like a normal person, a normal like PhD student, it will take you 5 years. And if you are sluggish and struggling with the courses and writing dissertation,
that's what I'm saying. He didn't say usually it takes 5 years, right? He says usually within 5 years.
Within 5 years, yes.
So
yes.
Yeah. So usually, in most cases, it's within the 5-year period.
5 years, and it will be over. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
but
what does that mean? That means that
it means that rarely it is the case.
Yeah. In rare cases, it could take longer. That's what it means.
Yes. For a person, obviously, for a person who is lagging behind and is not taking all the courses correctly and is not studying hard.
Exactly. Like imagine if I have some kind of idol in my life, right? And I need to pass, and I'm not passing it. Every time that I'm tested with that idol, I'm failing, and I'm trying to be on God's path. You know, like say I have a problem with my ego, and I keep thinking about what others think about me. You know, and I'm struggling with it, but I'm trying. I'm doing everything right. You know, it could take me longer depending on how big my ego is, right? But he said, don't worry, if you're good, you could do it within a month, which is great. But you know, we're not that good. Hopefully we can all pass, you know, but the thing is, honestly, some people will not even pass because they become hypocrites, right? They're tested and then they fail and they turn into hypocrites. Their doubts take over. So, but that's a reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
MashaAllah, for me personally, you know, having that, we don't call it the magic number, but having that threshold, having that like usually within 5 years, is like a good reminder that if you're after your 5 years, for me, I'm not saying that everybody should take what I think, okay? It's like, it shows that you are not doing your courses right. You are not, you should seek refuge in God and ask Him to help you. And there are things wrong in you, myself, that you need to work on. That's my understanding. You know, I just take it as a blessing, and you know, this information as a blessing, not as a rule that everybody should fall within the, you know, usually fall within the 5 years.
Well, you know, we agree with that, right? If you're good, that's what the messenger is literally saying. If you're good, it could take you less time. So if you take it longer, that means you need to work on yourself, right?
Yeah, I agree. You know, and the test is very exacting. Like, I mean, we there could be certain issues that I have that I mean, we're all humans. You know, we all suffer from the same, you know, original problem as ego. So, you know, but in different areas, you know, so something that could be, because it's very exacting, you know, it might depending on the each individual circumstances, what God wants to purify him from, it could vary, you know. But alhamdulillah, may, you know, God help us in our test.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I said earlier about my admission test, you know, I mean, I'm just speculating on my own life. I'm not sure, but you know, it could be pinches. Like I don't know, you know. Honestly, I don't know. But I was just giving an example because you know it just really, really depends on the person. As we know, there could be exceptions. So as long as we know there are exceptions, that's all I'm saying is, you know, it seems like a small thing, but you know, it is huge. If you take that part out of it, the exception, I mean, it changes the whole thing by a lot, you know.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I just wanted to point out, Sister Shima, she mentioned earlier about, you know, like I talked with Brother Suleiman yesterday, and didn't have the understanding of like as you mentioned earlier, sister, like if you get the message, you know, let's say a while back, and you don't do anything with it, you don't even know what contact prayers are, like fasting, but you just like you're interested in, I guess, maybe the accountability of the Quran, and comparing it to, you know, what you were raised with, and it's and you know, you, I guess, fall off the path, Satan comes after you. But yeah, I didn't yeah, I understand now, you know, after yesterday and hearing again today, you know, admission tests, they start like when you say, like, you actually believe you're going to do the rites of the religion, you know, the five pillars, and say you believe and mean it, you know.
Mashallah. Yeah, can I share one small input from our good friend ChatGPT? You know, she's been started attending our studies. ChatGPT became so popular. Okay, so it says, mashallah, Huda shared that. So I just posted in the group also. So it says, the phrase usually in 5 years or within 5 years implies that expected time frame for something to occur is within a span of 5 years, but it does leave room for the possibility that it could happen sooner or later than that time frame, depending on various factors or circumstances. So yes, it can sometimes imply that it may take more than 5 years, but is generally understood to mean around that time frame, right?
Yeah, mashallah. Yes, yeah. Mashallah. I just wanted to also mention something, that exactly the same example that we made. You know, if you are, so what Shima said, I agree with Shima, because you know it's very soothing and very comforting to know that there is a time span. You know, you're not like waiting your whole life for the admission test, and even getting it confused with pinches or even blessing in disguise. You know, that is the part that's sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, Satan wants to gaslight you, you know, trying to say that, oh, this was a blessing in disguise. No, it was an admission test. No, it was, you know, even with the information, the correct information that we have, he wants to mess with our head. So it's very important to get the facts right, mashallah. You know, when we get it right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, subhanAllah, you know, it just brings me to the idea that when we're talking about this, you know, thank God, we have the explanations from the Messenger of the Covenant about these things, because, like, for example, and I've been very open about this in the past, also, Brother Justin, just in case, a disclaimer, you know, like what Mustard Tucson has been promoting for many years is they want you to believe that there's no such thing as admissions tests, and like, you know, they don't believe that there is like a 5 year period or so, and then after that there is perfect happiness in that respect, like where there is no problems. You know, they believe that your entire life is these series of tests, and you know, and all these, your entire life you will continue to be tested. Like, I mean, and for anybody who needs to verify and double check and everything else, I mean, please feel free to talk to them. But like, I'm comfortable saying this because I've had like in-person detailed Quranic study sessions with them, at least one whole session, completely talking about the subject. And so what I did was, the King of Chaos, we talked about, like I had the transcript partially available for the King of Chaos, and I started reading from the King of Chaos, and everybody just started looking at me like I have two heads or something, and they're like, no, the messenger, he doesn't, like, I don't know if they knew that I was reading from what the messenger said. I made it very clear, but they're like, no, that's not what he preached. I was with Rashad. That's not what he said. He said, follow the Quran alone, right? So and I said, like, okay,
That's
so
interesting.
God puts you through the tests. He puts you through other tests. You go through all these gruesome circumstances, and you already passed it. So what's the point of you being tested? So tests should end. They're like, no, you got this whole life as a test, and you'll just continue to go through. And the only difference between, they don't make a distinction between God's kingdom and Satan's kingdom the way we understand it, in perfect happiness. Uh, they say that no, the only difference between the life of a submitter and a non-submitter is that a submitter will just submit through those things. Like, they'll continue to have problems and misery and stuff like that, but they'll just submit to it and accept it. But a disbeliever will not accept it. So the submitter will be happy, you know. So this is just like a really watered down version of submission, but we understand in clear terms from the Quran, Quranic verses, and from the messenger that God promises us perfect happiness now and forever. So there's no need for you to have broken limbs and have financial problems and marital problems and all kinds of problems, and then you say I'm still happy. Like, it can't be like you're suffering in cancer, your entire body's burning, you're going through chemo, and you're being nauseous and dizzy and in pain, and then you're saying, yeah, but I'm happy, alhamdulillah. It doesn't work that way. Even if you just have like a small headache, you can't really enjoy a quality of life that you can enjoy without a headache, and you'd rather wish that the headache is gone so you can be at peace, right? And God promises us perfect peace, perfect happiness. So that should happen when you pass your admission test. To me, even, yeah, I mean, I would wish that my admission test would be shorter, like a month, but even within 5 years, usually, for the norm, I mean, really, it's very comforting, mashallah, because we understand that, okay, it gives us more motivation actually to work harder so we can pass that. I mean, if you had to do it for your whole life, I mean, it would just tire you at some point. People will give up. But I don't know. I mean, if for someone to achieve the perfect happiness, they have to believe in it first in order to get there. If they don't even believe in it to begin with, I mean, how are they possibly going to have it? First you have to believe in God's omnipotence, that God controls each and every single atom in your body. I didn't mean to say it in the British accent. Each and every atom in your body, for you to be able to have full health, good health, and not have cancer and diseases and things like that. I mean, in fact, like one of the contemporaries of the messenger, uh, told me, she said, you don't have to listen to each and everything Rashad says. She says, we're all going to die of cancer, because of so and so, but God promises us that, I mean, like he said, God's angels are the best surgeons. And, if there's anything wrong, I mean, God can fix it right there. I mean, how does the cell decide to become a cancer? Who's controlling it? God. So can God not control his servants? Like, I mean, why is it difficult for God, what the messenger says and what the Quran says, to promise someone of good health and happiness? I mean, why do people have would have such a hard time accepting something so simple that came out of the scripture and came out of the messenger's own words, to understand that, it's achievable if you work hard, you do everything right, you are sincere, you're not compromising in some way, and cheating yourself in some way, you can make it. But like, it only will happen when you decide to fully do it. If you're saying, I'm gonna go in 90% and I'm gonna let that 10% just stay there, that's gonna stay there. I mean, you're gonna have that 90% of your happiness, the 10% that you're failing, I mean, you're gonna get big slaps for that, and so you're not gonna be there for sure until you show you prove that you worship God in all circumstances. Now that doesn't mean that people don't have flaws. We all have flaws, and that's where the imperfections are purified. When you go through your purification process, so you'll continue to get those pinches, and I think we all understand what those are. So,
MashaAllah, brother. I have a question actually about the verses that we read today. So we have verse 80 of Surah 15, where it says, the people of Al-Hijr disbelieved the messengers. Okay. I don't remember, but do we have any account of where this Al-Hijr is located, or who these people were? Al-Hijr Valley, because we have if I'm not mistaken, we have a surah in the Quran with the name of Al-Hijr Valley. If anybody has any information, if it is not mentioned, that's fine. I mean, I just wanted to make sure whether I
it's not
missed any.
in the Quran, you mean, or in the message?
Yes, like where? Yes, yes, exactly. In the Quran, or where did Messenger say anything about this Al-Hijr people? Who were they?
Well, I mean, he didn't. I don't, to my knowledge, I don't know if he said anything specifically from an archaeological perspective. But if you Google it, you find certain references to these people.
Yeah, let's forget about Google.
Beautiful monuments into and like homes or palaces in these really tall. What do you call it? Really tall mountains, and yeah. So there's some significant archaeological findings on one of those places. I remember sharing it a while back. God willing, I'll look up the post. Yeah.
Okay. MashaAllah. And also, I wanted to make a comment about verse 90 and 91 here. Okay. So here, starting from 89, and proclaim, I am the manifest warner. We will deal with the dividers. They accept the Quran only partially. It was actually mentioned also in one of the audios of Dr. Rashad Khalifa that one of the people there said that does it refer to the time of Muhammad, and then at the time of Prophet Muhammad, if we pay attention to it, Quran was not the way it was today. So basically, it was not. We didn't have the Quran in the form that we have it today. So basically, this refers to after the time of Muhammad, when Quran was put in the format of the Quran that we have, and some people go ahead and divide the religion, and they accept the Quran only partially. And we already know that they have created all sorts of fabrications in the name of hadith, and then attributed it to prophet. So basically, they only partially accept Quran. So I just wanted to make this comment as well. MashaAllah.
Yeah, I shared the link in the chat on Al-Hijr.
Oh, is it the city of Petra? I think that's the city of Petra, isn't it?
No.
No? Okay. Where is it located? Oh, Jordan, yes. Yes, south of... Yes, they said that formerly known as Hijra, it is the largest conserved site of civilization south of Petra in Jordan. Yes, that's Petra, yeah, in Jordan. Okay. Interesting.
So I wanted to comment on the first verse of Surah 16, the B, that it says, God's command has already been issued and everything has already been written. So do not rush it. Be He glorified, the Most High, far above any idols they set up. I appreciate if we discuss the idea of everything being recorded, because even though, praise be to God, it's clear for us, it might be confusing for some audience. Like we had a discussion previously, not in this group, but some people might think that it's like it's the force, like something is forced upon them, like God decided everything. Of course God decides everything, but like everything being predetermined in the sense of us having no choice, and everything is already decided for us, so there's no point in hoping to have more or wishing to have more of something, that we know we can ask God for anything and then he grants us based on his wisdom. So it's like in terms of worldly material, or when God says like when the provisions are already predetermined, some might think that it's so there's no point in them like it kills their motivation. There's no point in them aspiring to earn more and to like give more, and because everything is already predetermined. So this could be confusing, or maybe I got it wrong. So if we discuss it, I appreciate it.
That's a good topic question, sister. That's actually like one of the big things I got in, or my father years ago disbelieved on, because he literally, and at the time I didn't really have an answer for him. Like I was still, he knew more, I guess, about Dr. Khalifa and stuff. But yeah, he disbelieved on the fact, because when I didn't understand at the time like the predetermination, but I still believe what was written in the Quran and what the messenger was saying. But his argument was that he, kind of like you were saying, like other people may not understand, but he was trying to say it violates our free will. Like, okay, if that's the case, then why even he had a just some like he said, well then we're free creatures, we have free will. If I choose to do this, if everything was predetermined, then but I mean, I guess what I would tell him now, and I think I did before I stopped. I mean, among other things, like he disbelieved in like only accepting certain things partially, like the age of 40 and other things. But I did tell him, I said, I think to one of the good explanations from the messenger and in the Quran too. We make we have the free will to choose God or choose Satan. And everything else is God helps us in those decisions. So if we choose to be with God, he'll help us. But it's And then I kind of told him, well, I said, as far as God, this was like a year and a half ago. I said, as far as God's concerned, I said, he knows what I'm going to do. He knows what you're going to do. So according to, as far as he's concerned, yeah, it's been predetermined. But as for us, we still have to make those decisions. We can't. And like I told him, I said, if you decide to like sit around and be lazy and just think, oh, everything's predetermined, like money's just gonna fall out of the sky, or I don't need to do anything, or this and that, that's like your decision. That's because you felt like that was the predetermined decision that was decided for you, because you wanted to just do that and you wanted to not work, I guess, in God's cause, and basically side with Satan, and God helps you in that decision. I hope I'm making sense. Maybe others can
Yes,
share their opinion. Or
so yes, mashallah. So the point is that like for as far as God is concerned, everything is already like finished and it's done. The day of resurrection already has happened, and the everything has been recorded in the sense of our actions and our decisions being recorded. So God has recorded everything, and He's already ready for us to see on the day of resurrection. And so we still have the chance. I even remember the messenger of covenant, in one of his audios mentioned that, not him, one of the audience, that the submitters still have the chance to repent, and they have the chance to make modifications on their recordings, to by repenting, by reforming. So they still have a chance to repent, and things change based on that, repenting. So it's not like it's written, even though there's a stamp on our forehead. It's based on how we continue this life and how we make our decisions, and everything is like a movie recorded by for us to see on that day. It's not like God says, okay, go in this life, even though, in a way, if you think about it, everything is decided by God. Again, it doesn't mean that God wanted a soul to be evil or a soul to be good. It's us deciding. Since we were in the high society, everything is our own choice, and that's something I wanted to mention. Mashallah.
That's good, mashallah. Yeah, because like I heard, from the same person, he was trying to say it was like Calvinism, and growing up in the like Christian part of things, it's like Calvinism is like real frowned upon. I mean, they're all like idol worshiping, all think they're better, they all have the truth and all that, but like Calvinists are pretty much people like who think like they're really far from their sect of the Protestant part of Christianity, but they think like in the beginning somehow God like just arbitrarily chose people or whatever, and no matter what you do, so you could be like the worst person on earth, like let's say you're some Calvinist leader and do whatever, but you've already been chosen like to go to heaven, and if you're going to hell, like there's nothing you can do, even if you work so hard and do it. It's like just this, it has no basis, it's really crazy. But he was that same person was trying to compare it to that, but kind of like we understand, there's Sijin and the Iliene, and so and thank God for the understanding. You had a modification about the tape, so I'm sorry, but yeah, I just want to say that's a good point and reminder about we can modify our records. God helps us with that. If we want to reform and repent. I mean, as you said, thank God.
Yeah, and I think these Calvinists, it's one of the virtues for them to be rich, to try to reach the best amount of wealth that they possibly can. And that was one of the reasons, I was watching like a person talking about the history of these Calvinists, that they were also the ones who migrated to United States, and they were the ones who were like the basis for, the wealth production in the United States, because they came out of that miserable idea of, God wants miserable people around him, which also is rampant in Shia and Sunni, traditions, that the more you are miserable, you are closer to God, which is a nonsense idea, and it's coming out of the Hadith. And even Messenger of the Covenant was talking about it, that because Satan cannot provide for all the constituents, in this sense of making them rich, it cannot do anything about the wealth that you have, and God is the only source of provider. They have created, like satanic people have created hadith and fabrications saying that the more miserable you are, the closer you are to God. And I think that was something which was also rampant in Christianity for quite some time, but these Calvinists tried to break out of that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a really good point and topic. I've had the same wanted to hear like sometimes the words don't come out, like when I'm telling somebody or give them a Quran or something, and they're like, wait, what does predestination mean? Like, and it's either like usually one or two things, like they either disbelieve based on that. It's like, well, no, everything's, or they just don't understand it. And I mean, I understand, like from our point of view, it's as humans, it can be tricky at first, but like once God helps you and guides you, you understand His omnipotence and His mercy. But yeah, it's a good point, because I found myself like personally with trying to explain to people about that. But mashallah, we have good explanations here.
I think Brother Khalis wanted to mention something about Hajj pilgrimage. Brother Khalis, you mentioned in the chat.
Yeah, there was a I was looking for it when I made that message. Messenger of the Covenant speaking on going to Hajj pilgrimage after like 10 years of being a submitter. This is when we were discussing something about the 5 years in the your admission test. So I just brought that up. I just couldn't find the video. Just remember him speaking on it.
I think it was video number 5 or 6, I believe. It was about when he was talking about the Hajj pilgrimage. And he said that don't do it before the 10 years because it would backfire, something like that.
It was in the videos or the audios? I remember the audio.
No, I think it was one of the videos. It was one of the videos. I remember he was talking about Hajj, but I don't remember which one it was. It was either 5 or 6.
What's the question, though?
No, there's no question. It was just similar to what was being discussed. I mean, around like when I had first heard it. Say again?
About the number?
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there was no question. It was just similar to around what was being discussed.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not a magic number, right?
Or like a set.
But it was a different. I mean, it sounds similar, but it's not, because he says wait at least 10 years or so. You know?
Right. So like it's not like it's not in the for it's kind of similar because
yeah, it's not like a law, but it's like a recommendation.
Right. Yeah.
That way, I mean, but in the Quran it does say that best provision is the provision of righteousness. So that's what exactly he's explaining. Like, wait at least 10 years or so. It's like when he says, God talks about getting married, and so I believe there's some information on that also from the messenger, like get to know the person well before you marry them. I mean, these are recommendations,
right?
Because if you follow them, the commandments, because if you follow them, like, you will get the happiness that God promises. If you don't, I mean, it's up to you. And he says you pay the price, or if you don't, I'm butchering it, I know. That's what, something along those lines.
Yeah, because I'm thinking in the video he was even saying you could do it before 10 years as well.
He doesn't say you could do it before, but I mean, you could ruin it if you did it before 10 years, but he said wait at least 10 years, because he says it's not easy. And we know from experience it's not easy at all, and especially if you're going to do a Hajj, especially if anybody goes for a Hajj during the time that it is everyone else is going. I mean, yeah, that is like, to me, that's like really hard, and especially because just even during the normal time, like if you go there, there's so many people from all kinds of people there, and a lot of them are not even very civilized, and you'll get pushed by people, and there's like gangs of people. I don't want to use the word gangs, but like there's groups of people, right? People do it in groups also, and they're just like ruthless, like they're there's certain things I want to share I can't, but yeah, you have to be able to like be very thick-skinned and not care about people, especially people provoking you, people bumping into you specifically, for example, pushing you, it can be very testing in itself. And I mean, Hajj in itself, I mean, it gets very hot in Saudi Arabia also. I mean, you have to do all these rituals, you're going to get tired, you're going to get thirsty. And so you have to, and it's a once in a lifetime thing, right? So you want to make sure you want to get the best out of it. So it's good that you wait at least 10 years so you can really enjoy it.
That's true. Yeah, you don't want to ruin it or kind of spoil it. Even
I
do
remember
someone.
I do remember And there was, yeah, it was. I just want to say, there was some really funny, hilarious moments, especially with around other people. But then in the end, like I was used to it, But it was just difficult at first, just getting accustomed to all of it. But thank God, I think I did okay.
Yeah, because I could see like something as sacred as Hajj pilgrimage. It's like you want to essentially almost be perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's like one out of the five. Or it's something so amazing, and like like it's known like once in a lifetime. So it's not like you're gonna go back and do it again if you messed up the first time. It's best just to get it right, or just do it that one time, inshallah, and not get disturbed by the everything going on there. I mean, even at the messenger's time, I think he was saying the same thing, and that like people are can push you to the limits or something.
Yeah, and also during sorry, I'm just thinking about some of the things that happened. Also, during the messenger's time, like I mean, he was under threat also, right? And submission was, people were keeping a close eye on submission and submitters, so they didn't. He even told the people around him at the time to wait. He says, "We'll charter a plane and we go together," right? And it's interesting when he said that, because, and it's good that we talk about it, because some people took that too literally, and they said, "Well, the messenger said we're going to charter." That doesn't make any sense. But he said, since the messenger said we're going to charter a plane and we go together, that means that we can't go, because that didn't happen. And so they came up with this idea of prohibiting Hajj on themselves. So there are people who really, a lot of them, the circumcisionists, they believe that they're not supposed to go for Hajj until Kaaba is completely, people are annihilated, and there's no other idol worshippers, and then they can go. So that's the extreme I'm about.
Why do these people almost get everything completely vice versa?
Yeah, I mean,
What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, I mean, these are people. I mean, these are people that they know the Quran back to front. They would even remember. You ask about a verse, they know what surah, what verse, and they know about all the audios, all the videos. They know, like, at this minute, at what time messenger is saying. So these are people that are knowledgeable, seemingly knowledgeable. And then they come up with these absurd laws, and this is one of them. So that's why, like, if you go in their community, no, you will not find a single person. I'm not exaggerating. You will not find a single person in a group of 100 or so that actually went to Hajj. And they're middle-aged to like older people. A lot of them.
Can I ask you a question? It's about the Westerners. As far as I know, in Saudi Arabia, if somebody wants to approach the Kaaba or go to Masjid al Haram, what the internet says that like the Westerners, those who are not so-called born into a Muslim family, are not allowed, and they even fine them for going there. So unless they go to an imam, to a masjid, and they do the idol worshipping shahada, and that imam writes them a letter that this guy is a Muslim, a Sunni, for example. So what happens to those who are like Americans who want to go to Mecca and they are submitters?
Well, I mean, I know from my passport, like in Pakistan, like it says my religion is Islam,
Yeah,
so I don't have an issue, right?
Yes.
But
Your faith
but
shows that, brother.
right, yeah. But I mean, the thing is, they don't look. I mean, it's not like that. But I mean, the thing is, you have to get a visa first, right? So Saudi Arabia, so getting the visa, I think usually is where they may control it, right? Because when you actually, if you're in Saudi Arabia, you could go to one of the hotels, and you could disguise yourself even, and nobody checks any kind of documents to see your faith. All the real requirement they care about when you're actually entering into the Kaaba is that you're an ihram,
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're in ihram, I mean, there's people, white looking people, white people essentially, from Turkey, from Iran, from all these places that look just as white as any other Westerner. So they don't stop anybody to ask them like what they believe or whatnot. But, you know, really, I think for the most part, they're able to, I mean, if it really comes down to it, if somebody has to show the identification, I mean, they will look at and they may question them and stuff and find them, but as such, like, they don't filter out every single person who enters in. All they care about is the person is in ihram, you know. But if you, and also obtaining the visa itself can be an experience where they may want to question people who have Western names, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But people go to, I mean, from submitters who haven't changed their names, they're able to go with their original names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Brother John, that state of ihram, is that in state of sanctity, or what, you know, which comes with that, you know, white piece of cloth, or that white simple type of clothing that you wear? That's what Brother Suleiman is referring to as you ask the question. Is
Okay, inshallah. Thank you.
ihram? Yes, ihram. Yeah.
Thank you. Inshallah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the video.
No,
Brother
it
Khalis and I
says
are
it
trying to...
31:33. It says one needs to perfect the religion before going to Hajj. About 10 good years of prepping needed. 31:33.
Oh, 31:33. So let me just bring up the video, inshallah, so that we can take a look at it. MashaAllah. So that was video number 4.
Yes.
What time? One more time. 31:33.
31:33 is where you'll see it saying about 10 good years. And then the other time before I had sent 30:40 is when he's speaking on it.
Okay. Let me just share the screen, inshallah.
First, it is a difficult process, and some people may become disillusioned when they go too early before the faith is strong enough. So be sure you perfect your religion first, and then make the Hajj pilgrimage.
Oh, yes. Okay. One needs to perfect the religion before going to Hajj. About 10 good years of prepping needed. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, and that was pretty much it. Yeah.
That was the only part, right?
So no, I said 30:40. So he was speaking on it in 30:40, and then 31:33 is then when it like finalizes what he was speaking on, and then him saying 10 good years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 30.
Now, some people are fascinated by Hajj pilgrimage, and they just want to do it right away. You know, they're fascinated by the exotic country, you know, Saudi Arabia and the trip and all that. But my advice to you is to perfect your religion first. Believe me, it is not a very pleasant trip. There's 1.5 million or 2 million people making pilgrimage, and it is an exacting trial instead of enjoying. You're not going as a tourist. It is a difficult process. And some people may become disillusioned when they go too early before the faith is strong enough. So be sure you perfect your religion first, and then make the Hajj pilgrimage.
Okay. That's why I couldn't find it, because it was in the video, right? He didn't say it in speaking. Did he say it in the speaking as well? I didn't catch it.
Yeah, he just said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything you see on the screen, things that he says first, and then they should appear.
He said, my advice is my advice is 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, here? Okay.
And it is an exacting trial instead of enjoying. You're not going as a tourist. It is a difficult process, and some people may become disillusioned when they go too early before the faith is strong enough. So be sure you perfect your religion first, and then make the Hajj pilgrimage. And
It was
crossing
before
will
that.
make it believe that. But the fastest to you is to perfect your religion first. Believe me, it is not a very pleasant trip. There's 1.5 million or 2.
Sorry, maybe honestly, I think I'm blind. I can't see that 10 years.
It's okay. Another place he says at least 10 years. Yeah, I think.
It was not this part, correct? I couldn't see it in this part.
It
This is
doesn't
the
matter.
only
The bottom
place
line
I've
is it's
seen
there
10 years. I've never seen him say anything else about 10 years. It's the only place.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's another. There might be another.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, you're
yes.
right. He didn't say it like in words. It was written on the screen. Yes.
Yeah, it was written, but yeah, it was part of the information that was given to us. I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, mashallah, yes. But here it says that one needs to perfect religion before going to Hajj, about 10 good years of prepping. Yeah, I agree, mashallah. Yeah. Mashallah. Mashallah, it was a very good session full of information, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
There's also reference to Hajj in audio number 9.
Yes, brother, mashallah. It's mentioned several places, mashallah.
Mhm.
I tried to put the text file, of the texts, that we have from Dr. Khalifa into ChatGPT, but it couldn't quite locate the places. Maybe I was doing it the wrong way. I just wanted to put it in the ChatGPT to see whether it can answer some questions or locate some information. But
I think you might need to get a paid version to really get that kind of.
No, I do have that. Yes, I do have the version 4. Yes, yes, I do have it. But then probably I was giving it the wrong prompt, or my file size, file type was wrong. Maybe I should do it in text format of
Right. Yeah,
instead
you
of
know how
Word.
to split. There are some websites that show you how to split text in order to feed it longer prompts.
Yes, mashallah, yes. But it's really interesting, really interesting piece of technology, subhanallah. I don't know, are we over time, or do we have like maybe 5 more minutes? I just wanted to share like that 37,000 digit number that I was able to put into ChatGPT and bring it out. Actually, it was the courtesy of brother Omid. He did it, but I just created the Excel sheet.
What is it?
Yes. Okay. So let me just bring it up, inshallah. Okay. So in one of the videos of Dr. Khalifa, it was video number 40. He mentions a number which is 37,088 digit long. Okay, and then it consists of a situation that we have a number of the surah number 1, and then we have number of the verse. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then Dr. Khalifa said from the beginning of the Quran, the sequence is for the first verse, which is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is number 1. The second one is the second, third, and then we go to Surah Al-Baqarah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim doesn't have a number, and so they put 0 for it, but it is from the beginning of Quran, number 8, then Alif Lam Mim. The first verse becomes from the beginning of Quran, number 9. And then I created this Excel, and brother Omid, mashallah, put it into ChatGPT and gave us the like the giant number that we have, which is 37,088 digit long. And it's subhanallah, it's a multiple of 19. This is by far the largest number that we have, and it looks like this. If you want to print it out, brother Abdullah is not here, but he was very fond of these numbers. This one is 14 pages long. If you want to print it out on, yes. If you
Masood,
want to,
could you zoom in and then like let the audience know what order is that you're referring to?
Sure. Yes. So basically it is, so this number is number 1 for the surah. Then we have the first verse, okay, of Surah Al-Fatiha. Then from the beginning of Quran is number 1. Then we have verse 2 of Surah Al-Fatiha. Then from the beginning of the Quran is number 2. Then 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7. Then we have number 2, which is Surah Al-Baqarah. Then we have the Bismillah Rahman Rahim, which doesn't have a number, so we put 0. And from the beginning of the Quran, it is the 8th verse. We have verse number 1 of Surah Al-Baqarah, and from the beginning of the Quran, it's number 9. Then we have verse 2, which is from the beginning of the Quran, verse number 10. So we do this until the end of the Quran, for all single verses, and then we get to Surah, basically 114, okay? Yes, 114. And then Bismillah Rahman Rahim, it is from the beginning of the Quran, it is 6,340th verse from the beginning of the Quran. Then we have verse 1 of Surah 114, and that is 6,000.
Oh, we can't hear you, Mas. I can't hear you. He's saying it. I can hear it at home. So sorry. Let me just tell him that we can't hear him.
Yeah, but mashallah, we got it. I mean, so this is the one.
Here. You can check.
I'm sorry, you didn't have my voice?
It just went away for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, probably Satan wants to mess with that. Okay, which part of it did you lose my voice?
I don't think
the second verse of chapter 114.
Do you want me to explain from the beginning? That wouldn't take.
No, Masood. Can you read these numbers for us, please?
Sure. So I can do that, but that's gonna take probably 32 billion years. So long story short, if you put this number into the application submission, I just want to put it in the calculator so that you see it, brothers and sisters, for yourself. This is the longest number that we have. If just we copy and paste all of it and put it here. Yes, absolutely. Subhanallah. It's a multiple of 19. And if we scroll down to the bottom of the calculator, we see that it is written 37,088 digit long. This is the longest number that we have, subhanallah, which is also a multiple of 19, 37,088 digit long. Subhanallah. Yeah, it's just...
The number of digits is also a multiple of 19, you said?
Yes. Yes, subhanallah. 37, so if we put it in the calculator, let me just put it here. 37,088, that would be awesome. Yes.
Also, if you take out the zeros.
Yeah, but that's for another session, inshallah. Also, if we take out the zeros, it will be a multiple of 19, but let's do it another time, inshallah. Subhanallah. It's just mind-blowing, subhanallah. This is
how all of it is showing us his signs, mashallah.
Yes, subhanallah. I mean, this one was, for some time, I had it on my mind, but I didn't know how to do it. Mashallah, brother Omid fed it into ChatGPT-4, and then we got the number out. And then I learned that ChatGPT-4 does that.
Yeah, that's so good. ChatGPT is so helpful.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
ChatGPT.
Yes, mashallah. Mashallah, subhanallah.
All right, so I guess if there are no other comments or questions, God willing, we can conclude our study. So thank you, Brother Khalis, for leading the study, and thank you, Brother Masood, for streaming, and Shima. God willing, our next Quran study in English would be on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. God bless you all. Thank you, Brother Khalis, for the
You're welcome.
study.
Praise God.
MashaAllah.
Alaikum, everyone.
Thank you, Brother Khalis. Thank you.